Okay, I'll get us started. So, bonjour tout le monde, bienvenue, good morning everyone, and a very warm welcome to you all. Thank you for joining us here at our wonderful symposium, User-Generated Content under Canadian Copyright Law. I'm Professor D'Agostino, and on behalf of Osgoode Law School and IP Osgoode, a very warm welcome. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for all of those also who are accessing this in its recorded version, which will be later uploaded on the IP Osgoode site. So IP Osgoode, of course, is all your homepage by now, right? So today's event will indeed be recorded and will be online. Also, feel free to tweet away throughout the day, hashtag IP Osgoode UGC. Now, IP Osgoode's mission is really one to inject many more voices to the IP law and public policy debate here in Canada and around the world. We aim to inject an independent and authoritative voice and really build many more bridges between academia, government, industry, other expert groups, and of course the general public. And we really seek to enliven the debates and look at perspectives that are often overlooked. And I have to say that in this regard, we've been quite busy. We've had a flurry of activities, and in just a few days, so that's next week, October 15, IP Osgoode turns 5. So not bad for a kid who's in kindergarten. So if you could join me in saying happy birthday, happy 5th birthday to IP Osgoode. So today is really that celebration, and today is an extra special event for us at IP Osgoode since we have teamed up with the Genet Fund, which is managed through the Osgoode's Office of Research, Graduate Studies, and Institutional Relations. And we'll be hearing from the Associate Dean here momentarily, who will introduce our most honored guest. And here I have to say we have quite an important guest with us today, so important that I decided to reroute my long-awaited academic sabbatical to be here and to organize this conference and to actually be here today for him, who's actually been quite busy over the last few weeks teaching at Osgoode. So that should say something of how happy and privileged we are to have someone of his stature with us here at the law school and with us today. Now, you know we have a winning conference topic when it's RSVP time. You know, after all the hard work, well, half of it, that's really the best part when you see the replies come in, even when you organize your own events and parties. And for this one, the replies came quick and fast with yeses, and some yeses even twice to make sure that they actually were in. And the best part also is, you know, when there are comments that accompany the replies, like can't wait, really want to be there. In this case, we had comments that said, at long last, an event on UGC. And then others that said, delighted that this event is taking place, need the information. So today, if anything else, is really to also provide you with information among all the other things to kick things off. We'll be having quite a flurry of activities from the very first panel. And when we really look at why we're here today is we're looking at the UGC provision, which for Canada was introduced just last year. And in many ways, I think it's fair to say that it continues to mystify all of us. Some comments that were made, and here I quote, this provision has been poorly drafted. Things have been said that it's had unintended consequences or will have unintended consequences, to it being a win for users finally, a win for all, so positive, negative, and to it even being called an illegitimate offspring. Now, I think today I was prompted from Alice Munro's announcement of winning the Nobel Prize for Literature. Kudos to Alice. And in one of her novels, she says, it was a promise, it was a mistake. So who knows, maybe she was thinking about the future and the UGC provision, something we could all talk about. and something that we look forward to hearing from you. In fact, when you look around the room, this audience is sprinkled with experts, all the who's who in IP here in Canada, some also coming from abroad. Also, when you look at our stellar speakers, so even if we maybe did a poll, we could see where you might fit into one of these camps in terms of what was said or what maybe your mind may change throughout the day. So throughout the day, we do expect to hear from all of you in the spirit of UGC, and I know that our honored guest will be underscoring that momentarily. So whether the UGC provision is loved, hated, or confounded, really we look to you to be engaged and to share your thoughts. Now, you should have all have with you the Symposium Agenda, a printout of some choice Copyright Act provisions, I wonder which ones, and the speaker bios. So on this front, I'm very grateful to our session chairs and really my most cherished IP colleagues. And here, Professors David Vaver, Karis Craig, and Akechi Mbijiboji, who you'll be hearing from today and who'll be chairing the sessions. And of course, our Genet faculty guest, who will be showing how it's done from the very first panel. Now, I've asked them to keep introductory remarks short, so we have maximum time for discussion. One thing that is important for me to note, especially 5 years in, is really the support of our sponsors. Our sponsors have been with us from the very beginning, and here we are 5 years later. And here I'd like to give great thanks to Castles, Gowlings, and McCarthy's. It's really because of them that there is once again such a thing as a free lunch. So thanks so much to you all. And of course, behind any event of this size, there's always logistical complexities up to the 11th hour, right, Michelle? And here I look to Michelle Lee, who was phenomenal in leading IP Osgoode's logistical team, organizing everything from start to finish and still going, along with Jody Ann Rowe Butler and Mary Barbieri. I cannot thank you enough. Of course, together we recruited so many students that are here helping us, and it's really heartening because at root, what IP Osgoode is all about is really giving voice to the students and increasing their learning opportunities. And with us today, we have students who have been working feverishly helping us, and I'd like to acknowledge Asad Akhtar, Mark Evans, Paul Gill, Elise Visco, Peter Newfield, and Jennifer Davidson. Now, it wouldn't be an IP Osgoode event if we also didn't have a blog to accompany the recorded version, which you'll find on iposgoode.ca. So blogging on this, I'd like to thank Mona Zarifian, David Bowden, and Fraser Turnbull. So the conversation will indeed continue beyond today, where you'll have a chance to infuse your own comments. Now, last, one important announcement, and this is one that also really concerns all of you going forward. Now, Professor David Vaver and I are editors of the Intellectual Property Journal, and we've decided in honor of today to convene a special issue on UGC. So we'll be publishing this next year. Now, we've already asked our session chairs and speakers to submit their pieces, but this really is an invitation to all of you, as in this case, the audience, to participate and be active and also submit your own pieces to this special issue. So there is a deadline, January 15, and there'll be all different ways in which you can contribute. If you need any more information, do get in touch, do look on the website. Another innovation that we're thinking of is if you don't have a chance to submit your piece, because I know most of you in this room have crazy calendars. We were hoping to archive the comments that you make throughout the day in the journal. So as part of the commentary in this volume. So please do identify yourself throughout the day when you're making your remarks. And please do think of the IPJ as a forthcoming source of UGC and anything else IP related for that matter. So it's time for me to wish you a wonderful day ahead. We have 5 stellar panels coming up and a treat of a welcome from our most honored guest. So at this point, it's my pleasure to pass the floor to our newly minted Associate Dean, Professor François Tanguay-Renaud, who will have the great privilege of introducing our honored guest. François?
Alors, bien le bonjour tout le monde. Good morning, everyone. As a proud PC user, I feel a bit cornered this morning. Trust an IP conference. This is fantastic. So on behalf of Osgoode Hall Law School, on behalf of the Genet faculty program, I'm delighted to welcome you all here to the IP Osgoode Genet Symposium on user-generated content under Canadian copyright law. My name is François Tanguay-Renaud, and I am here at the, as Pina just mentioned, the new Associate Dean, Research, Graduate Studies, and Institutional Relations at Osgoode Hall Law School. And it's my pleasure, really, today to be able to welcome you and to be able to introduce our most distinguished Genet scholar, Professor Victor Naban, who has been really instrumental in organizing this event today. But before we get started, I'd like to extend my thanks, obviously, to the Genet family for their continuous contribution to the Genet Global Faculty Program. The Pierre Genet Memorial Fund, just to tell you a bit about it, was established to honor the memory of Pierre Genet, who died in 1989. He was a graduate of Osgoode Hall Law School, who went on to become one of the finest counsel in Canada, revered not only for his gifts as a lawyer and as an advocate, but also for his honorable and generous personal qualities. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce one of our Genet faculty this morning, distinguished host and speaker, one of our first speakers at this morning's conference, Professor Victor Naban. Professor Naban's preeminence as a scholar in intellectual property doesn't need to be emphasized. It's been recognized several times nationally and internationally. Professor Naban taught at Université Laval in Quebec City for several years, from 1970 to 1999, and during that time he advised the Canadian government with respect to the drafting of 4 revisions of the Copyright Act, and he also advised the Quebec Ministry of Culture on copyright matters. From 1999 to 2005, Professor Naban went on to serve as a senior consultant of the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO. And there he advised many developing countries in drafting national legislation compliant with international treaties, TRIPS, WCT, WPPT, and he also advised them in devising, building strategic plans, and as well took part in many training courses, seminars for different stakeholders, judges, lawyers, government officials, business community, collective management societies, university students, creators, associations, and so on and so forth. Since 2005, he is a guest professor at the University of Ottawa, as well as the Institut d'études politiques, otherwise known as Sciences Po in Paris, and at Nottingham University in the UK. He also acts as a freelance, combining activities of counsel with the law firm Kimbrough et Associés in Paris, and advising developing countries again, mainly in the Middle East and in the Western Balkans in the field of intellectual property. And since 1996, he also has been the chairman of the Association littéraire et artistique internationale. While at Osgoode, as Professor D'Agostino mentioned, Professor Naban is teaching a new course entitled International and Comparative Copyright Law, for which we as an institution are most grateful, and I know that the students are too. He also delivered the closing remarks at our most recent IP Osgoode conference on whether Canada can learn something or anything from Europe. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming our most distinguished guest this morning, Professor Victor Naban, who I turn to offer some additional welcoming and introductory remarks. Thank you very much, Professor Naban.
Thank you both, François and Pina for this flattering introduction and your very, very kind words. It is a great honor for me to be the recipient of the Pierre Jeunet Fellowship. I'm also delighted, it's a great pleasure to be able to participate to this important symposium, which represents a large gathering of professionals coming from different horizons. But also it gives me the opportunity of meeting again with some old friends and perhaps starting a new friendship also. The topic we'll be discussing today is a very special one. I should add special from more than one point of view. Canada is the first country, at least to my knowledge, that has enacted legislation on user-generated content in its recent copyright revision. This by itself is to be highlighted as an event. We are the first. I don't know if we are the champions. Let's wait till the end of the day before passing judgment. Nevertheless, being the first, and so far, we can say that UGC can be added to the list of Canadian paraphernalia that makes Canada, Canada, alongside, for example, Trans-Canada Highway, Canadian Tire Money, Hockey Night in Canada with Don Cherry, of course. After all, this is Toronto. Muchaloks and Bushbacks, and last but not least, my dear François, Poutine. I should pronounce it Poutine. Secondly, the topic is also quite special, as it is at the crossroad and cuts across law, technology, and philosophy, and touches upon the eternal dichotomy between protection of works versus free access and freedom of expression. And thirdly, finally, I would say last but not least, this topic was perhaps, in present circumstances, the perfect choice to nurture our discussions in a symposium designed to pay tribute to Pierre Jeunet. He was a great lawyer, a man with perspective, depth, and superb human values, who loved his country, but who especially loved Osgoode, and more especially loved Toronto. Well, our topic not only is challenging and fascinating, but it takes place at Osgoode, and it is attracting a large gathering of good Torontans. This symposium, we planned it to be entertaining and interactive, same as UGC works. Speaker will speak their mind, but we expect and encourage the audience to do so also, to contribute, to state their views, their ideas, in other words, to generate contents. I wish you all a fruitful and very enjoyable day. Thank you.